was just rude. See that? Okay, this is the special city council workshop meeting for Saturday, March 2nd at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Would y'all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. I went to the elementary school, was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday, and they handed me the Pledge of Allegiance in case I didn't know the words.
Well, you thought it was the national anthem last time. So.
Well, I get those two mixed up sometimes, but I think my last day as mayor, I'm going to sing the national anthem up there. I think that is only appropriate, only fitting. Okay, we are here for the special city council workshop, a discussion of follow-up to strategic planning goals and objectives. I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, I'm going to spend the first couple minutes just kind of walking through the what we did through the department head retreat that led to the initiatives that we've emailed to you and that you have in front of you. And I emailed y'all a copy of this this agenda earlier on. So basically, we spent the first little bit just going through and reviewing the evaluation forms that we use and making updates on those, and then had a nice discussion on team and leadership before we spent a fair amount of time talking about what we see as the values of the organization. So we started that with individual values, and then started talking about our what we felt were the values of the organization. And after a lot of debate and some arguing, and we finally came down to accountability, dependability, and community as the top three values of the organization. And really that was more or less just to kind of get our minds in the right spot as we began talking through different themes, which are relationships, both our internal relationships with staff, our external relationships with the general public, whether it be businesses in the area, contractors that are in here, or our residents, obviously. And communication is huge. Communication for us is key. I think a lot of folks, that's what leads to a lot of frustrations, is when there is a breakdown in communication. The other thing that we wanted to make sure that we were focused on as we go forward is thinking about what the big picture is, and taking the time to explain the why, whether it's to the front end employee that was just hired to dig holes, or it's a top end supervisor, and making sure we take the time to explain the why, as well as to a resident as to why we are doing what we are doing. Out of the box thinking. Department heads can tell you that I say all the time, if I ask you why we're doing something, the response never, ever should be because that's how we've always done it. If it's the best way to do it, then great. And if we've always done it the best way, then fantastic. But constantly evaluating the things that we're doing, our processes, our procedures, things like that. And thinking outside the box. Are there more efficient ways of doing it? Are there new things that we should be doing that we haven't done? And then status go. Really changing our culture as an organization from status quo to status go. Let's be progressive and let's move forward. So from there, that led our discussion into really what we felt we heard from council during the strategic planning workshop that we did last spring. And narrowing down y'all's comments and really into three big categories: city investment, customer relationships, small town feel. And then under those, we had lots of subcategories. So if you look at your big initiatives page, you'll see page number 1, city investment. Down the left-hand side, you see facilities and infrastructure, which is one of the subcategories that was talked about a lot during that workshop. City services, promoting/branding the city, and customers, both internal, which would be staff, and external, everybody that we interact with, whether it be a resident, business, contractor, things like that. You look at page 2, there's our customer relationships. And with this one, we did it, we basically just listed all the departments and how they can improve customer relationships, both internal and external. And then on the 3rd page, you'll see small town feel. And then the subcategories under that, volunteerism, events and programs, strong neighborhoods, access to leadership and information, and promoting branding the city. Again, came up during that part of the conversation. So as we got through that, we wanted to make sure that our initiatives followed a pattern. And so that pattern is, what is the purpose or action that we're going to do? Who are we doing it for? What department is doing it? Or are we doing it as a city overall? What are we going to do, and when are we going to do it? So that way we can measure ourselves as we go along. So we started this process at the department head retreat, and over the next couple of months, over the last couple of months, we had our department heads working through those, planning out 2019, trying to get out to 2024. As you've seen in the material that I've sent, once you get to 2023, 2024, it starts to, not a whole lot in those yet. But my vision is that we would do this on an annual basis. So as 2019 comes off, 2026 comes on, and more gets added into 21 and 22, and 23 as they come closer, a little bit closer. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the things that are shown in 2019, especially the initiatives that are more of a different, what's the right word here? It's a program or something like that. That's going to continue to carry forward through the years. Even though we may not have listed it every single year, once we start it and get it going, we're going to keep running with that until such time that it needs to be redone, revamped, reinvented. So as I explained when we sent out the material earlier this week, if it's in green, it's either funded, or if it doesn't require funding, it already has a plan, a detailed plan on how we're going to do it. If it's yellow, it's either not funded yet, or we just need to finalize the details on the plan. So we've got a pretty good outline of the plan on how it's going to happen. We just need to work through a couple of the details and get those hammered out so that it can be implemented. If it's red, it's an idea. Yeah, it's not funded. Really haven't mapped out any details on it, but it is an idea and something that if it's left as an initiative, as it comes time, by the time it appears, we will have it mapped out, have a plan. Hopefully, it will be funded if it requires funding. And that just kind of explains the overall before we get into it. So what I was thinking we would do this morning is we can go left to right across the page. I'd love to be able to get through 2019 and 2020 at a minimum. If we have time and get to 2021, that's great. I don't know that it makes much sense to go beyond 2021 right now, but I mean, obviously that's up to council, as far as this workshop goes. So we can either go left to right, or we can go Q1 all the way down and then Q2 all the way down, and so on and so forth. I was thinking left to right, just to, with the flipping of the pages and things of that nature. So, council, as I asked you when I sent the material out, basically the feedback we're looking for from council, from y'all is the initiative something you want on there? So are there things on here that staff has put in that you think should come out? Are there things that we didn't include that you think need to be included? Or are there things out of order? So if we've got something that we're showing in Q4 2019 that you as council don't feel is that high of a priority, and maybe we need to drop that back and replace it with something that maybe is showing up in 2021 or 2022, that's kind of what we're looking for here. Or, and hopefully this is not the case, if we just completely miss the mark coming out of the strategic plan from this past spring, then let's spend some. This will become a very, very short workshop, and let's work through exactly what it is that you do want. So, Mayor, with that, is there any questions from council? If not, I mean, do y'all want me to go initiative by initiative. I mean, we are recorded right now. We are live on the Comporium channel. So we can talk through each initiative. We've got all our department heads here. They're the experts at these things. These are their initiatives based on what they heard at the prior workshop. They can give you as much details on these things as you want. So how would you like to do it?
Well, let's go left to right, that makes most sense. With some pages. But if we go from left to right, does that mean we are, does that mean,
The first 3
does
pages
that
will be
mean like
2019.
fire has to stay here, or police has to stay here? the
Well,
entire
they've got
time?
stuff throughout, so, I mean,
Is there
it's,
any way we can make it where somebody can go ahead and get their part over with, if there's not much here, that they can go ahead and enjoy their Saturday or something?
I
Do we
would
have to keep
rather
everybody
they
here?
all hear it as a
Okay.
team. To
Everybody
be quite
feels the
honest.
pain.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
All in this
We
together.
can suffer
We're all in
together.
this together.
Yes, sir.
okay, let's go with, just go
So,
left to
all
right then.
right, so, in some of these, obviously, especially like Q1 things in 2019, yeah, some of these things we can put the check mark beside, we've already done, but it was an initiative that got planned and done. So, Q1, this is in our utility department. To optimize and maintain current regulations for customers, the utility department will complete the necessary PER to determine the required upgrades of the wastewater treatment plants by Q1 2019. That has been completed, and PER stands for Professional Engineering Report. So we had we had an engineering firm come in, a third party, not the engineering firm that we use on a constant basis, come in and do a deep dive on the wastewater treatment plants to make recommendations on long-term, here's what you need to do to sustain those things. So, Philip, you want to give some details on that?
Yeah, basically, a while back when we took it over from Utilities Inc., we owned 2 wastewater treatment plants. So we borrowed $6.8 million to an upgrade of that entire system. To an upgrade of that entire system. Well, that included relining lines, doing some new pump stations, things of that nature. But we wanted to do a deep dive on the actual plants themselves. What this engineering group looked at is how do we continue? Those plants have been in the ground since 1971. They've about reached the use of or the end of their useful life. So what they looked at is how can we continue to progress to keep up with regulations for the next 30, 40 years. And so that's what they looked at, and kind of give us an eye-opening, which some of those things we already knew. Some of those things we were on the brink of discovering, and then told us what those estimated costs would be. So that's where we're at now. That's been completed. Now we seek funding on how to get there, whether that be through grants, through another loan, things of that nature. So that's what we're looking at this point in time at now.
Phil, price tag on it right now, we're looking at what, about 4.2?
About
Million?
4.2 million.
Yeah, so not all of it has to be done at the exact same time. They obviously identified priorities. Here's the thing that you really need to, this is the urgent, this is the non-urgent, but things that need to be programmed in. When Philip mentioned loans, we're looking at like SRF. You're talking about 30-year money at 2%. Same process we did when we did the rehabilitation of the collection system. So that's initiative number 1, and it actually has been completed. We got the PER, which kind of actually ties in, and Philip, help me recall, do we have the rate study shown in here on a future? Okay. So getting the PER done before we got to the, got the rate study kicked off was very important. So we've got that done. Any questions on that initiative from council?
You said we've already done the rate study?
No, the rate study just started.
I know it's coming up.
Yep, just getting started. And we hope to have that completed in time for our budget conversations for 1920.
Same with these updates that we'll have to do. I'm assuming that will be during the budget.
To a certain extent, yes.
How confident are we that we have a good sense, since our infrastructure is so old and we didn't own it for a really long time, how confident are we that going forward we have a good understanding of where all of our infrastructure is underground? And is there anything that we can, in this process, if we don't, if we're not, do to make sure that we have a good assessment and we know where all of our pipes are?
That's a great question. On the wastewater side of it, we, part of the study when we took it over from Utilities Inc., that was part of the program that we had to initiate, was try to map that system out. We pretty much know where those lines are as far as the wastewater. Now, on the water side, it's a cluster, for lack of better words. There's plastic pipes. There's no way to locate plastic pipes unless you dig it and actually see it and then try to find it house by house, so to speak. So that's one of our biggest challenges that we deal with on a daily basis, because we have construction going on, cable companies coming in, power companies coming in the older section, and we have to try to find. Yeah, a lot of times they do find it for us, unfortunately. But moving forward, that's something that we have paper maps that each of our crews go out, so when they dig something, when they make a repair, we're actually drawing in on those maps if it happens to be wrong, getting with our city engineer and getting those maps corrected as we move forward. So we do have a plan. Unfortunately, it's just going to take some time to get there.
Would you say we're good from Lakeshore on up in terms of construction?
Everything on the newer side, I guess you could say at Tega, we have GIS mapping, we have tracer wires, so we're pretty good, yes, sir, from Lakeshore.
And that's also something, both from a stormwater and water sewer side, is they submit their final plats, the developers, builders. We require them to give us that GIS information in a CAD format so that our engineer can just load it straight in to our overall mapping system. So we've been doing that for the last several years on the new construction side of stuff. Yes, sir.
So quick question, we're what, 6.2 to purchase it, was that a couple years ago? Now we're talking about 4 and change to set it up for the future. At what point in time do the revenues outweigh the expense? How many years before this system doesn't just provide a service, but actually creates income for the city?
That's probably something that I think we can find out through the rate study. I mean, right now it is operating to the good. You know, it's covering a little above what the debt service requirement is.
Right now?
Right now,
Before
yes.
4 million?
Right, exactly. So the key for us is going to be to figure out how to, over the next several years, work bits and chunks of that 4 million for those plant upgrades into it to where we can still keep our debt service coverage at or above where it's required to be. So, and that'll be a big part of that rate study is, you know, the things we're trying to get out of that, not only that, but how can we take TCUD 2 customers from a flat monthly sewer rate into a volumetric rate? How can we get the rates on both sides, especially on water, since it's, get those more equally balanced between TCUD 1 and TCUD 2. So those are the things that we'll be looking through with a host of other things. But, I mean, you're going to have debt on this system minimum for another 25 years. Just, I mean, the SRF was a 30-year, so you've got, probably 27 years of debt on the SRF side. The purchase acquisition of the 6.2, that was a 15-year. Yeah. So, and that was issued in 2014. So, that side of the utility is going to have debt on it for a long, long time. But what Philip's done, I think, a really good job of doing is trying not to add to the debt and just take on what we can to keep maintaining the system without overburdening it from an expense standpoint, and keep it running. I mean, we're very well aware that our rates are pretty high. We're trying to manage that system, maintain that system without substantial rate increases, which thus far we've been able to do.
Are we looking at combining both TCUD 1 and TCUD 2 rates? So it's one utility?
On the sewer side, no. On the water side, it is already combined. But on the sewer side, it's not designed to where, I mean, you're talking another probably 15, 20 million to combine Tega 2 sewer into Tega 1 sewer? Are you just talking rates? It'll be hard to do on the rate side, in my opinion, but that's why we hired the expert to come in and look at those rates, and see. I mean,
So they are studying that part.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, at a minimum, we want to get Tega 2 into a volumetric rate, on sewer. If we can get it to where it's very close or equal to the, Tega 1, I think that's a win, but they definitely have two separate expenses, no doubt, on the sewer side of things. On the water side of things, I'd say it's pretty close, right,
Yeah,
Philip?
water side, that's one of the objectives that we're looking at is combining those two and get a set rate, to move forward. and go from there. I will say that, as far as an aspect, if any of you have ever dealt with any other city infrastructure, things of that nature, typically we provide a service, kind of like fire, police. It's not necessarily always gonna be a money-making thing. In other words, we're reinvesting constantly back into the system to provide a service for the city, so they can have clean water, they can have access to the water and wastewater services. So Ryan, to your question was, it's difficult to ever see that it's going to be a cash system, but it's always something that we continue to look at to reinvest into the system to make the service better at a reasonable price for the customers.
Any other questions on that one? All right, number two, I think, would be a little bit easier. So this one is in, with the fire department to provide for more adequate storage, and repairs of equipment. The fire department will purchase a storage building, for Station 1 by Q1 2019. Interim Chief Daly, I believe that's already been done. It's already installed over at Station 1, is that correct?
It has. We purchased a 10 by 20 storage building and fit it in the back of the station.
All right. So there's, if you've been over to Station 1 and around back, there's an alcove in between the sleeping, living quarters and the bays, and it's sitting right in there. So instead of things just sitting outside, we've got it in a nice little storage unit out there. It keeps it out of the bay floors and keeps it out of the weather and things like that. So that's already been done, was done through the operational budget. Any questions on that one from council? Okay. Moving over to Q2, still on facilities and infrastructure. Number one, to enhance the the experience for members, the city will purchase new pool furniture for the Beach and Swim Center by Q2 2019. Joey, this one falls to you. I'll let you have it.
So we reached out to several vendors for pricing, and we finally landed on a vendor that we feel pretty good about. We have made that order, I believe, 2 Fridays ago, so they're in the process of beginning that purchase or that construction of the new furniture, and definitely have it in time by pool opening on May 4th.
How about describe to them what all we are getting?
So we're replacing all the loungers and all the dining chairs. We're doing a crisscross pattern instead of just the straight lines for more stability. We're changing up the color scheme as well. We're going with more of a light blue that will go well with our existing umbrellas. We're also looking into opportunities to add some shading on top of our existing pergola structures and adding some more umbrellas to the lounger area as well to provide more shading on top of the additional chairs.
This kind of coincides with, we had these conversations during the budget workshop, just, trying to reinvent the experience down there as much as we can to try to bring more members back into the membership program at the Beach Club. I mean, it's been a steady decline since probably 2015, would you say, Joey?
Give or take, yeah.
So we've, as y'all will recall, council approved us moving those rates back to that level to try to drive more members into it. It has been a self-sustaining system since the city took it over, and we want to do everything we can to keep it that way. So
So the pool budget's paying for these?
yes, sir, absolutely.
And is this just more equipment that you're getting, or are you replacing?
We're replacing.
Replacing
We'll
it.
sell the old equipment. There's a trade-in value on that, so that will help offset the cost of the expense. We're not getting rich off of it, but there is some value, and our pool management company is working with us on that.
Where are I know it's really early, but do you have an idea of memberships year over year? Now that we're not doing the early bird rate, I'm just wondering if people are still signing up early or they're going to put it off now.
I believe last time I checked, we're approximately 150 memberships.
Okay.
I think not doing the early bird obviously not necessarily hurts, but they're not coming in sooner. I think the weather is also impacting that. The last thing people are thinking about is pool is when it's 50 and rainy.
Sure.
So I would anticipate an uptick over the next 2 months,
Okay.
especially if the weather finally gets nice.
Is there a way we can maybe market a little bit more? Maybe even show people the new design, or this is an example of what we're going to be getting? And
That's the plan.
sign up
As
now?
soon as we start getting our hands on some of the equipment, we were gonna take some. We asked the equipment provider to take some shots for us as they get them. Sneak preview of that. We're doing a mock setup for the equipment as well. We're working with Lacey to do some Facebook advertising. We've done the Peach Jar advertising as well for the Beach and Swim Center. And then the last thing we're going to do to try to provide an opportunity is have basically an open house at the beginning of May. That's open for anyone from the area to come in, check out the facility, look at the new upgrades as well. So hopefully all of those efforts combined will help give us good exposure for everything else we've got going on.
Anything else on that one? All right. Also in Q2, and council's very familiar with this one, this is at y'all's direction, to enhance recreational opportunities for non-mainstream recreational participants. Parks and Recreation Department will construct 2 pickleball courts by the end of Q2 2019. And obviously, we've had lots of discussions on that. That is still proceeding forward. Obviously, the schedule and timing is going to be dictated 100% by the weather. But we still, I think the directive council gave us was by Memorial Day weekend, have it installed. And that is still the plan and still very achievable.
Well, with the weather, I think it's Memorial Day 2019, or 2023, 24 right now.
Any questions on that one? All right, moving on over. To enhance the restroom facilities at Rundy Park. For park patrons, the Parks and Recreation Department will renovate the restroom facility by Q3 2019. This has been more of an informal conversation, I think, amongst council members. The reason it is in yellow is because council hasn't formally adopted a funding for it, nor has staff brought proposals to council for approval of funds for it. We anticipate doing that sometime in the next 2 to 3 months. We are working on that. We've gotten quotes on it. You're looking at about a $38,000 to $40,000 expense. So hopefully we're able to keep that in that Q3, or no later than Q4 timeframe. But that's where we felt most comfortable in placing that. Is in that Q3 timeframe. But again, we've got a plan. We know how much it costs. The reason we've shaded that one yellow is because there hasn't been a formal allocation of funds at this point. And it would add under the existing roof structure, so you wouldn't be adding on to Rundy. This would be a remodel under the existing roof. It would give you 2 fixtures, 2 stalls in the women's room, and a urinal and a toilet in the men's room. So you would double your capacity up at Rundy. It would make it. It would all be ADA accessible and look a lot nicer than what we have now. So it would definitely serve everybody we've got coming to Rundy for various things, whether it's our community events or just rec sports or just your general park users. It would definitely make things better for them. And unless council desires, we will continue to research and find funding opportunities for that project. Any questions on that one?
Is there any discussion with the Turner side of things? Because that one's pretty rough too.
I mean, obviously there's an opportunity for improvement there. I think in terms of usage, especially when you consider the summer concerts there as well, Rundy's a priority, but absolutely Turner's on our radar as well.
Well, as is the restrooms at Windjammer and Pitcairn. Yeah, so all of our park restrooms, we're definitely taking a look at. And I think Joey hit the nail on the head just from, Windjammer and Rundy are probably our two most used, from just a sheer number standpoint. So, working on trying to pick those two off and then continue down the path, but targeting all of them. Yes, sir.
How long do we think construction would last for something like this? Will it
For the
interfere
Rundy?
with programming or?
We have to be strategic. I mean, we're honestly looking, depending on that timeline, summer months or over the winter. We simply cannot afford to do it during the fall or spring.
You're probably talking a 2 to 3 week, worst case scenario, I would think 3 week, remodel timeframe. So,
So it's pretty cool.
yeah, it is pretty quick, but if you've got ball games going on, unless you can get it done that day before they get there that night.
So basically, the window's the month of July or the winter time.
So funds available would be H-tax,
We could look at HTAX, we could look at.
impact fee funds?
Impact fee funds could go towards it, yes, sir. HTAX funds most certainly can go towards it, or operational funds in the following fiscal year, yes, sir. But it does qualify under HTAX and impact fees, if that's the direction council wants to go. So we'll bring a couple of different scenarios to you. Our funding and conversations here recently have been more about, obviously, Windjammer, and we've got some pretty cool things we'll look to show council next week. Some things I got late, yes, I got some things last night that just blew me out of the water. So looking forward to sharing those with you guys first of next week. But and then the inclusive playground has really been our focus, because we're right on the cusp of being able to pull the trigger and move forward there. So we'll have a good discussion on that March 18th, regular meeting with you guys. And then we can start shifting our focus on to the funding of the Rundy Park project,
So
I
how many
think.
public bathrooms do we have? About 8?
You've got Windjammer, Pitcairn, Turner, Rundy, Trailhead Park. And then technically you've got one at Lookout Park, but that's the golf, it was installed for the golfers, but it is right there.
Technically, it's open.
Only for members, though. I mean, if you just show up to use the playground and the outside facilities at the beach club, if you're not a member, you don't have access into the restrooms there.
So we got 5,
6, yes, sir.
and 3 of them are really, really, really need it right away, and 3 are okay?
I would say, the one at Lookout is in, we don't need to do anything there, it's fine. Trailhead as part of the inclusive playground, a few minor updates to it, water fountain, changing
So we
table,
can
things like
include
that, so.
in the trail, in the inclusive money?
yes,
Okay,
sir.
so that's out,
Yeah.
so.
Really, you're looking at Windjammer.
So we got the 2 water parks that we can, somebody else is gonna pay for that.
Hopefully,
Okay, so we're
Yep.
only talking about Rundy.
Rundy and Turner. Mhm.
Okay.
As far as our monies, if the state monies come to fruition, that should handle Windjammer and Pitcairn, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're really just talking the ones at the ball field, at least right now, yes, sir.
Makes it more palatable,
A little bit, yes, sir.
if bathrooms can be palatable.
Bids on Rundy?
We just got a quote, so we knew where we were looking at, and based on the level of the quote, we would actually put it out for bid before we march forward.
You were trying to get an idea what it would take to do it.
Right, yeah, how can it work, and what's a good, budgetary price to use?
Sorry?
And then we'll put it out for bid, obviously, because it definitely exceeds the $10,000 threshold, no doubt.
And, so you might as well do Turner, I guess, I mean, just to get an idea, shouldn't you?
We can,
And when you put this out for bids, how many people typically bid?
2 or 3, because they have to be a commercial licensed contractor, because it's a public facility. Your residential folks can't bid on it. So a lot of your commercial builders in this, at least especially in this area, a lot of them pass on it just because they're, in their opinion, small projects. So, but Tom does a pretty good job of trying to shake the trees on things like that to try to drum up some bids. But we advertise it publicly on, it's called SCIBO, South Carolina Business Opportunity. All contractors throughout the state keep an eye on those things. And then obviously we advertise it on our website and in the local newspaper. And then we reach out to people that we know in the area that are commercially licensed contractors and say, hey, come give us a bid, give us a bid. So, but generally on projects of this size, I would say probably on projects less than $200,000, it gets hard to find commercially licensed contractors to do those. There's not a whole lot of them. that'll entertain things that small. Is that in on that one? All right. Next one on Q3, under Facilities and Infrastructure. This one is you, Chief. This is in police, to maintain accreditation and to accommodate adequate staff and enhance the protection of the community. The police department will construct a police station by Q3 2019, and we all know that that one is well underway and coming along quite nicely. Actually, council, as an aside, hopefully here in the next week or so, as they start hanging the drywall, we want to schedule a tour for you guys to be able to come in, maybe on a Saturday or something like that, to where we can give you a walking tour of it, behind the scenes kind of thing. We're also going to schedule a time for staff to be able to go see it. We don't want to interrupt the workers too much, but the contractor more than willing to get you guys through there. So probably here in the next couple of weeks, we'll try to find a date that works where we can give you guys a tour of it.
Bring Lacey so everybody can see it, so you can put it on social media.
We actually just did a
Everybody
video, Chief and I with Lacey, and she's working on the video edits. Obviously, we're not classically trained actors, but I think we did pretty good. So hopefully that video is going to pop here in the next week or so. It's a little hard to figure things out because it's just all the beams and studs are up right now. They hadn't put the drywall, but Chief took us on a little tour explaining what each area was and things like that. So she's going to have that on social media here for too long. She's just got to clean up our mistakes in the video editing, and then I think we'll be able to get that up. But yeah, we can absolutely, with the tour with council, we can absolutely video that as well. Sure.
Hey, Charlie, real quick, and
Yes, sir.
this may not be the right forum, but blending the two together, the police station and when we were, the restrooms and things we were just talking about, is there, I realize a commercial builder doesn't want to mess with a $30,000-$40,000 project, but is there not a way to maybe reach out to somebody that we gave a $4 million police station to and say, hey, could you send a crew over? And I don't mean do anything other than just send a crew over and do, I mean, we paid to do those bathrooms, but can you not leverage that at all?
Yeah. We'll be having those conversations. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Anything else on that one? Number 3, to improve management of the city's stormwater infrastructure, the development services and public works departments will identify and document stormwater outfalls and sediment basins during the second and third quarters of every year, beginning in 2019. This is Tom and Tim. And this is actually something that just requires staff time. It's not something that actually requires funding, so to speak.
Right.
So, Tom, you want to talk through that real quick?
I will. This is much like the utilities on the peninsula. Some of our older maps are missing or not accurate. So what we do during the summer months, while the crews are more out and about, we make a conscious effort to look at these outfalls and sediment basins and to identify them, and so we can update our maps. We're good from Lakeshore out, but the peninsula, we've got some work to do there. So that's what we'll be working on.
Would you say we've probably got 85% on the peninsula mapped?
We do.
There's a couple inaccuracies. I mean, you try to do the best you can just with what you can see, but now that we've got cameras and some new technology, makes it a little bit easier. Some of our older maps say that the pipes or the water's flowing this way, it's actually flowing the other way. So just making sure that we're cleaning up those. But yeah, I would say we don't have too many holes. It's just a matter of getting what we have updated and correct.
That's correct.
Yep. Okay.
Right.
Any questions for Tom any questions for Tom or Tim on that? All right, the last initiative for 2019, obviously in Q4, now you're moving more into that 2019-2020 budget timeframe. But this one falls back to T-Code as well, to provide for sufficient storage and pressure for current and future customers. The Utility Department will construct a 500,000-gallon water storage tank by Q4 2019. And Philip, what's our schedule on, realistically, on having that up and operational?
We hope to have it by 1st of October, of course, depending on weather.
Do you need a road to get out there?
Well, right now, the developer is looking at working with our contractor as well as starting to remove the trees, grubbing, things of that nature. And our contractor, whichever one gets there first, will have a road, at least to the job site. We're working hand in hand with the developer, with our contractor, as far as a laydown site as well, before they start putting any infrastructure in for the development, to try to get that up and going. So, of course, it's weather depending. And right now, it's a muddy mess.
Yes.
I didn't think of it. We should have installed a dock at the police station.
Yes.
That would have been a great idea.
So that's it on 2019 for city investment on facilities and infrastructure. You can see we've got a lot of greens there. So, a lot of those projects are either underway or have been completed or soon to get started.
We better order dinner. I think every road takes 30 minutes. We might be here for a while.
I think a lot of these will start picking up the pace as we start turning pages, hopefully, hopefully. Under city services, your first one, this is under Tom and Development Services, to increase the range of inspection services for the department. Development Services building inspectors will attain additional certifications from residential to building officials starting Q2 2019. Tom, if you can just give council a brief rundown quickly on that, please.
Yes. What we're looking to do is trying to get our inspectors cross-trained so they can do not only residential inspections, but also commercial inspections. In addition to that, they'll be doing code enforcement and stormwater inspection. So we're trying to get them cross-trained so it helps with assigning work in the morning, so people can do multiple things.
How many inspectors do you have on staff or that are working with the
We
city?
have three
Do we
positions.
have, or how many are we supposed to have?
Okay, sorry.
We
There's a
have three
difference.
positions, but we're down two. We
Oh.
just made a hire. He'll be starting on March 18th.
Okay,
So we'll only be down one after that.
okay.
Any other questions for Tom on that one? All right. The next one, Tom, we're going to stay with you to reduce potential pollution to the environment. Development Services will conduct annual illicit discharge training for the utility and public works employees starting Q2 2019. And this is part of our requirements as an MS4, correct?
That's correct. It is. And we did it last summer and summer before, and this is just a continuation of the program, just making the guys who are out in the field aware of what to look for if they see some green ooze coming out of a pipe, that's not good. So, just an awareness type of training.
We have a lot of that happening.
No, we don't.
Probably one of the easiest, one of the things that we find more often than not is somebody has tied things into our storm sewer system without permission, whether it be their downspouts, yard drains, things like that. Oh, I've got a street drain right in front of my house. I'll just dig down, knock a block out of it, and stick my pipes into it. And they don't grout it out and things like that. We find that a good bit, believe it. Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do. And during, believe it or not, when we have weeks and weeks of no rain, and you drive by an outfall and you see water coming through it, okay, well, let's go find out where that water's coming from. So that's a lot of what Tom's referring to there.
Is there some social media we can do on that to help educate people on what to look for if they see something, who they're supposed to call, and just do some general
Absolutely.
education on where does that water go and why is it so important to make sure that it doesn't have anything?
Sure, we
Yeah.
absolutely can start ramping that program up. I know over the years, Tim has collected a lot of great educational material that we can push. Some of it is Charlotte Stormwater, and some of it's through DHEC and things like that. So Tim's done a good job of collecting that material. We can absolutely start doing some education on it, no doubt. Anything else on number 2? Number 3, to ensure future funding, Philip, this is going to come to you. And aligned rates, utility department will conduct a rate study by Q2 2019. And we actually just talked about that when we were talking about the PER. Any other questions on the rate study at this point?
We've already started, selected a contractor. Hope to have the meeting sometime in the next week or so with that group, and then get started on it.
We've already started they sent us a laundry list of, hey, this is information we need. We've already started compiling that, some of that stuff for them. Yep.
So will that be finished in time for budget?
We're anticipating what, end of May? 1st of June?
Yeah, somewhere around the 1st to middle of June, hopefully.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, staff will have been well underway with budgets, but we'll have it in plenty of time to where we can start having those conversations with you guys, both at your regular meetings and at the budget workshop for certain. Anything else on the rate study? All right. Our next one, going into Q3, Philip, we'll stay with you here. To reduce and encourage environmentally friendly practices, Utility Department will work with City Communications to develop a strategy to promote paperless billing by Q3 of 2019. It's something we've already started, have been doing paperless billing for a while. We've got a fair number, probably 300 that are doing paperless billing right now. So it's not overwhelming, but we haven't really pushed it hard yet. And that is something that we're working on a nice marketing plan to encourage that. Several ideas on that is, and a lot of utilities are doing it now. They charge you extra for the paper bill, and they don't for the paperless bill. But really, we're just going to try to educate folks. Here it is. You can get it, sign up for it, things like that, and just keep pushing it to try to get as many folks to sign up for it as we can. So. Yep.
The service, and I have no idea what it is, but the service that both York Electric and York Natural Gas use for payment, which is rather convenient, paying with e-check or whatever just to log in. The fee they charge, would that offset? Would going with that, would that make it easier, but would the fee be greater than what it costs to bill with paper? Am I making any sense?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know.
That allows for auto pay too, whereas our current system does not.
Both use the same service. Both
Yep.
companies use the same service, and it's really easy, and we don't offer it through the utility.
Now, you can do the ACH auto draft through ours if you sign up for it. You can definitely do that. Very easy to do with Shanae. You can also pay online, and you can pay through the 1-800 number for it if you don't want to write a check or use your bank and send that in.
You can log into the other two systems at your leisure and pay with an e-check for no fee. I guess that's easy for me.
Right. The online system, now what they're doing is they're eating those convenience and portal fees. Every online company transaction, it doesn't matter if you're shopping or, the utility payments, they all charge a convenience and portal fee. We've just never adopted the practice of the utility system covering that fee. We've passed it through exactly what it is to the customer. But if that is something that council wants us to do, we can start looking to see what kind of budgetary impact that would have as far as how many people are actually going through the portal and paying online versus not, and can bring you back an analysis. And something we could possibly discuss during the coming budget workshop. Sure.
What's the approximate cost per month to send out the 2 batches of utility bills with postage and all of that, since
Do you
we?
know off the top of your head, Bob? Yeah, we can get that for you. The
Okay.
cost per
I'm
bill.
just-
I know it's less than, the postage isn't
Sure.
the same that you're paying to
Right.
go buy a stamp and things like that. I'm wanting to say it's like, no, I don't even want to guess. Let us look at it and we'll let you know.
Is it possible as part of the whole rate analysis and the budgeting process for us to look at the app or whatever it is that allows residents to look at their usage real time?
We can. And actually, Philip, you and I have done some digging after Mr. Prosser joined us at lunch. It's not as cheap as what he said it was at our lunch. Philip, do you have that information with you right now?
Don't have it with me right now. I've got some rough numbers, I think.
There's an initial startup fee of a little over $9,000. Customers don't get a chance to opt in. It's either everybody's in it or nobody's in it. And it's based on customer size. Your initial investment's going to be a little over $18,000. It's about $1.24, if I recall correctly.
$2.24 per customer.
Right,
So it's about $9,000
per year,
per year after.
correct.
So $18,000 for the first year, and then $9,000 to $10,000, depending on customer size every year after.
Right. as we continue to add customers, that's just gonna continue to tick up.
And
Yes.
that's also in,
It's in,
it
Yeah,
is,
we've got it shown in here, but no time soon.
Okay.
But I've only heard of one person at this point that has asked
exactly.
for it.
As
So,
we continue to progress and to get to actually where we need to be, that's something that we're looking to. I think it will help with, the conservative side. If people see where their water is being used and exactly how much they're using on a daily basis, it definitely could lead to some conservatory measures.
Do we have any sense of how much people spend, when they have like a breakage or where water's running and they don't know about it and,
Well, typically, how we do it now, we get alerts if there's constant usage through the meter system now. We get alerts after 72 hours of constant usage. And then our crews, I actually send someone out on a daily basis to check on that alert. If they're home, to speak with the customer, to knock on the door. Where used to, they'd have to wait till they got their monthly bill and say, gosh, my bill's what's going on. And so that's an extra service we kind of provide with the new metering system that we purchased 2.5 years ago.
$1,500. Jumping back real quick, the question on the billing, it's about $1,500 per side per month.
Budget 3,000 a month for 2 buildings.
And that's billing a little over 4,000 customers.
Bill, on the constant usage, 72 hours seems so long. If the water's running that long, why wouldn't it be 24 hours?
That's just the way the system is set up. In other words, I think when I initially asked the question, the same question you asked, they seem to see where if somebody leaves a water hose on in the summer outside, they usually catch that within 12 to 24 hours. But if they have a toilet constantly running or something of that nature, then it typically
Catches even a toilet running that
it will.
the noise it makes all night.
Now, one thing we do is once they get that leak repaired and they show us the paperwork that, receipt from a plumber, things like that, where they got that repaired, we do an adjustment for them on their bill. So we'll bring it down to what our cost, was. So we're not losing anything, but we're helping them out. So we'll Shanae will work with the customer and do an adjustment, if they have a leak. Now, if it's somebody that has a leak, every month, then we're having a different conversation with them. But usually we don't see those leaks more than once every now and again. I mean, it's not a frequent.
And with this system, we catch them a lot quicker. So typically,
Right.
I think we offer the one adjustment for the lifetime, something of that nature, according to the way our ordinance or policies are written. But with the new system, we catch them a lot sooner, so there's really not much of a difference when we notify them that, hey, you got a leak, versus if they had waited 30 days.
Any false alarms?
Not yet.
Anything else on that one? All right, the last one on that row, to enhance communication with the real estate industry, development services. We'll meet annually with realtors and developers to review zoning and land development requirements starting in Q4 2019. And Tom, that is you. It's pretty self-explanatory. Council, do you have questions on that one?
I guess in terms of the cost, because it's yellow.
It's just, it's not a cost. It's really just fine tuning what that plan is,
Okay.
and how they're gonna do it. The only cost is gonna be staff time between Tom and Susan, really just, meeting with them. So you're talking, you're not talking a true expense to the city, but, it's in yellow right now because we've got a good outline of the idea. We just gotta fine tune those details and then kick it off, really starting the first of the, coming fiscal year. Jumping down to promoting branding the city, Q2, number 1, and this is, Joey, this is gonna go to you, to better promote city events and utilize all available resources. Parks and Recreation Department will request to have Vizzy, the CVB's new mobile tourism van, at our food truck rallies and fall festival beginning Q2 2019. we chose Q2 because that's when our first concerts are. So, yeah, the CVB's been great at working with us on various things. Great for Shore Club and the Glennon Center, promoting and marketing it. So try to get them out marketing our events as well. We've already had those meetings with them. So hopefully at the April concert, they're going to have that thing out there. If not, it may be not until the May one, but definitely going to start having that out there at our different various events. Any questions there? All right. Moving over to Q3, number 1, to increase community interaction, Parks and Rec Department. And I love how this one was worded. We'll seek 3 to 5 ambitious citizens to become brand ambassadors for Parks and Recreation by Q3 2019. And this is really just, again, goes back into marketing our facilities, our events, who we are. And this was an idea that actually Lacey came up with. She has been meeting a good bit with all the other area communicators, whether it's with the Chamber of Commerce, the Convention Visitors Bureau, other cities and towns in York County, and has really created a nice network. And even some of the larger employers in the county, like Piedmont, and really getting to know who her counterparts and peers are around there. So, looking for, right now, again, that one's in yellow because we got an outline of an idea, and now it's just a matter of drilling down those details and getting it rolling. So as we're getting closer to putting recycling a little bit behind us, we can start turning our gears towards some of these other things. So I thought it was a neat idea. Really doesn't cost a whole lot, but again, it keeps us in front of folks. They're not just hearing from us; they're hearing from others that do come out and participate and come to our events and things like that. So, any questions there? Good. Number 2, to highlight, promote programs, facilities, volunteers, Parks and Rec Department will create a quarterly newsletter by Q3 2019, doing different videos on social media, sponsorship spotlights, things like that, highlighting those sponsorships. And really just, showcasing ourselves. I mean, we got, that's one area that we have noticed as a team that we kind of lack is, it's okay to brag on ourselves. We got a lot of great things happening. Let's share that good word. And making sure that we're doing that. Lacey's been a tremendous help thus far with that. Obviously, Parks and Recreation is kind of an animal of its own, because so many people that are connected to that. So this will be a little different than our rewind and things like that. It would be strictly towards that Parks and Rec side of things and making sure we're staying in front of folks. Any questions there?
Cool.
All right.
Keep Chief away from the donuts.
Yes.
DNA isn't.
Lacey changed the camera angle. So skipping down to the last row on here, to provide a more efficient application process for business owners, the Development Services Department will update the existing business license ordinance to coincide with the updated mass model ordinance. You just did first read on that. You got second read coming up next month. I don't think we need to get into further details there. Moving over to Q2, and again, I'm sorry, this is on customers, internal and external. To provide the required personnel for fire and life-saving services, Fire Department will increase their headcount by 3 firefighters Q2 of 2019. This was included in the budget. It was scheduled as an April 1 start date. We're actually pushing that back until the new fire chief is on board and has their bearings, their feet on them and whatnot. So you're probably looking closer to a June start date on that. And really, it gives us 3 at each station at each shift. Right now, you've got 3 and 2. Adds that extra person. We're trying to build up to where we're at the recommended standard of 4 per truck. So you've got an engine and a ladder company, and basically, and Justin, you want to talk about the 2 in, 2 out, just so council's kind of aware of where we're building to here.
There's some national standards. OSHA and NFPA both recommend 4 people per truck. It allows us to operate with 2 in, 2 out is what it's called. So if we have 2 firefighters in a house that's on fire, we need to have 2 firefighters outside as well in case something happens to the 2 inside. It's just a safety thing.
And you had on here, I can't remember what year, but
We're moving to that 4 per, right?
That's the goal.
Right.
That is the
okay.
goal, yeah.
Do you have, I can't remember. what it is.
2022, I believe.
2022,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
So trying to pick it off a little bit as we can, so it's not a huge, hit to the budget. The good thing that we do have for us now, though, is if there's a call in the city, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, both houses are responding. So if it's inside the city limits, you've got Station 1 and Station 2, they're both coming. All right, so you've got 2 pieces of apparatus, and then you've got 5 people. Well, we're short, I know, on one shift by 1, but generally, you've got 5 people there, two pieces of apparatus on scene if it's inside the city. If it's a mutual aid call, the houses are split, so that way we always have one station that is in the city at all times. That's correct, or did I just completely
If the call
botch that?
warrants both units, yes. There are some calls that we go on where we only send 1 unit. Most time it's check a smoke detector, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
No sense in sending both trucks and all the people out there.
Expensive smoke
but-
detector.
Right now we go about to the Peach Stand to help Fort Mill with the Kingsley area, and we go to 77 down at Gold Hill Road. We do not cross 77. That's something that we changed last year. We used to go all the way down to Carowinds, everything on Carowinds. We eliminated that. It's just too far out. And we only send 1 truck out of the city.
Okay, so Peach Stand is on the other side of 77.
That's
on
the only
160.
place where we actually cross over 77, it's just on
Okay,
160.
so Going, so you don't cross Gold Hill? I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter that much. So 77 to Gold Hill.
77 is what you're saying.
We will go down 160 to where the Peach Stand is at 21.
What about Gold
And
Hill?
that assists Fort Mill with Kingsley, because they have a lot of development there. Down Gold Hill, we stop at basically the 2 car dealerships.
And then 160 towards the state line?
We usually don't turn left there.
Don't turn left there.
There's a couple calls that we'll go over there for, but that's mostly run by the county.
It's not as big as I thought.
Off the east side, you take something down to what, like Riverdale? Down to 77?
Yeah,
Mason's Bend,
if
I'm sorry.
requested, normally, we don't get asked to go that far. But
So
we
we're not
wouldn't cross the
running calls in
interstate.
Baxter at this point.
Yeah, we don't run any calls in the Baxter area, and we don't cross 77 going down Sutton Road, so.
Any other questions for Chief Daly on that? All right, moving on over, under Q3, in order to recruit top-level personnel and retain current personnel, administration will look to add such item as leave sellback, sick bank, and employee appreciation events by Q3 2019. Some of these things we'll present to you in the update of the employee handbook. Last time that was updated as a whole was 2013, correct, Dora? So we're looking this spring to bring that back to council. Y'all have to adopt it by resolution. And we'll, and that's, Dora is currently working on that, and I'll be assisting her with that so we can bring that to y'all. Hopefully, what did I tell you we'd shoot for? Probably about May, Dora?
Yes, you did. We're
Okay.
going to take the draft to the department heads first, and we're going to all sit down and review it prior to bringing it to the city council.
Yeah. And obviously, it will, before y'all get it, it'll have gone through legal review as well, through our labor attorney. So, that is number one, or the last thing on city investment. Any other questions? Are there things in 2019 that we didn't show that y'all think need to be, at least in city investment? Things we may have missed?
I have a question for Dora. In terms of retention, what is our turnover rate?
It depends on which department you're talking about. I would say as a guest, the turnover rate would probably be less than 10%.
Some departments are a little harder. I mean, utilities, public works, it's hard. Sometimes, I mean, at this rate, people will chase a dollar. Yeah, I mean, oh, they're paying 50 cents more an hour over there, I'm gonna go work for them, kind of thing. A lot of times, folks in that field aren't as concerned with benefits as much as they are paycheck. Our pay is competitive. You know, we will be doing another compensation study either this fiscal year or next. We had planned on doing it this year, but put it on pause for right now, just with the revenues, obviously, that we've made council aware of. So maybe something that we do this summer. If not, then we'll look to update it. But we've done a pretty good job of keeping it updated since we did it in 2014, 2015?
2015.
Yeah, so each year we adjust the salary scales in the compensation study by the CPI. So those keep moving forward. So we want to do another comprehensive update, you know, where they're looking at the job duties and things of that nature. So yeah, our pay is competitive, but when you're looking at public works, utilities, I mean, even police, it's people just aren't looking to go into those fields. You know, they're not wanting to work. Yeah, and obviously, law enforcement comes with a whole lot of challenges with the academy and things like that. Yeah, Tom's down 2 people now. We were fortunate we're getting one back. It's actually somebody that used to work for us coming back, so that we're excited to get them going. But it's a very specialized field, so you don't have a whole lot of people that are, you know, sitting around looking to be building inspectors. I heard a thing they were talking about on the news the other day. I mean, if you're looking to hire right now, you're not hiring somebody that's unemployed. You're hiring somebody that already has a job because the unemployment rate is so low right now. But the folks that we do have, and I've said this time and time again, they get more done with less than any group of people I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, it could be as much as 10–15%, as low as 3%. I mean, it depends on the department and really just the year.
How many applications we get for the chief position?
For the fire chief position? About 65.
Really?
60,
Yes,
65 from all over the
65 to
country.
70, yes.
Yeah, we got a ton of them. We narrowed down the first round of interviews down to 12. Spent the last 2 days conducting interviews, and we'll finish up first round on Wednesday. And I think we'll be pretty close to making a decision. Goal is to have that position filled no later than the 1st of April. But in the meantime, Chief Daly's holding the helm and keeping that ship driving and doing a good job with it, no doubt about it.
Are other municipalities experiencing, I mean, I know police is across the board pretty much right now, but for utilities, maintenance, public works, are we seeing that across the board?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. The economy is very low.
Okay. Do you guys have any, yeah, right?
We'll have
Yeah.
architects, bankers,
Yeah, they'll be rolling in
engineers, they'll
here.
all be
Yeah,
looking to drop
yeah.
backhoes and fix water lines.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
You didn't bring in the box?
Anything else on city investment?
Did we invest enough money for the donuts for the chief?
Not quite.
We'll take it
The
out of
rest
his
of it's
budget.
hidden down at the new police station.
Does he get his own line item?
What do you think the station costs?
2.5 of it's donuts. All right, turning the page into customer relationships, and again, this is internal and external. On administration, Q2, to enhance quality customer service through accountability, administration will implement customer feedback forms accessible at the time of service by Q2 2019. Katie's got those forms ready to roll and should be implementing those, I would say, in the next couple weeks and pushing that out just to get that on-the-spot feedback or a little quicker feedback so that if we need to make adjustments and things like that to our service delivery, we're able to do so in a timely fashion. A lot of times our folks will wait a month or two and then reach out to us and tell us how they were dissatisfied. And at that point, it's really not a whole lot we can do for them. So giving them an opportunity to reach out and let us know, how we're doing on things and gives us an opportunity to look and plan on and make adjustments as necessary.
So would that be
So-
like a link at the bottom of everyone's email?
It's actually a form that, we'll be able to hand people, we'll be able to email it to folks, the whole bit. So Katie's over that program. Unfortunately, Katie's got strep. which is why she is not with us today. I asked her to keep that to herself and not share it with the rest of us. But yeah, I'll get Katie to send out some specifics on that here in the next week.
I think that's great to get feedback right away. So.
Cool. Skipping on down, this is under Development Services, Q4. To improve customer relationships, Development Services will establish a biannual customer service training program for staff, including how to build rapport, create positive first impressions, and manage customer expectations. Development Services staff probably interacts with the public as much, if not more so than anybody does. Both the contractor and the businessman to the and women to the resident coming in to pull a permit to take down a tree or build a deck or things like that. And focusing more on that front end, customer relationship, customer service. Again, it's the theme of this portion, so you're going to hear a lot of that across the department. So, yes, sir.
Is it possible to maybe push that forward? And my only thought is, I mean, knowing these guys, I don't believe it's accurate, but reputationally, people say, well, I don't want to go. I get phone calls, people, do I need a permit for this? Do I need that? I'm scared to call. I don't want to do this. I mean, and like I said, I'm not.
Tom's
please,
extremely mean.
It's just, it's a
Tom's a mean guy.
reputational thing. It's not but if we could maybe make it seem like it's, hey, we're here to help, as opposed as to we're here to take action against you. I just think it would help relations between the contractors especially, but also our residents.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
You are, and we talk about customer service quite often in our regular staff meetings, but this is focusing something more specific. I don't know if it'd be maybe an online, a few-hour class or they would take, or actually see about bringing somebody in maybe for half a day. Yeah, right. So, it's not something that's not being addressed now. It's just that we just want to improve what we're doing because of some reputational things that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, all of our department heads, for the most part, have a weekly staff meeting with their folks. Sometimes it's just a safety topic, our maintenance guys, they call them tailgate talks. They're there in the shop and just going either over a safety reminder, safety tips. Sometimes it's about operational. Sometimes it's, depending on the department, it's customer service. And they do a good job of doing that on a weekly basis with their staff, no doubt about it. And then obviously, as we get complaints, maybe customer service wasn't where it needed to be, we try to react to that as, right there on the spot as quickly as we can. Make sure that we're bringing it to the folks' attention, making sure they know and are cognizant of it, no doubt.
I think that's awesome. And so one thing that my organization does in helping to build that customer service oriented culture within the organization is every single meeting is started with not only a safety topic, because we're a culture of safety, but with a customer service moment. And so it's just someone different throughout the team, whoever's in that meeting, sharing an experience they had or giving a tip that they had, and just helps to build that culture throughout the organization.
Awesome.
So.
No, good ideas. Anything else on that one? All right. Moving on, this is in, Tim, this is you, operations. So in Q1, to better inform citizens, city projects, operations is going to communicate project schedules that affect property owners in an efficient and timely manner by Q2 of 2019. It's already happening, as far as I'm aware, correct, Tim?
Yeah, it's not something we don't do already. It's just a goal of mine to get better at it. We do communicate, we'd like to communicate to all surrounding property owners with the city's intentions to complete repairs projects effectively and efficiently. This is for stormwater, for street repair, for tree pruning, for whatever. We just like to make sure our staff and superintendents and crew foremans and myself is better at it as we go forward in communicating what's going to happen in the specific neighborhoods that we're working in when we do that kind of project. So it's not something that doesn't happen already, it's just something we want to get better at.
Yeah, and putting a lot of these things on here, and Katie, one of the things that she'll be doing is going forward is she's going to continue on a constant check-in with the department heads on these initiatives new initiatives as they get added and things like that, to make sure, are we hitting the goal? If it's not still here and it's got to move here, why does it have to be moved here? And keeping that in the annual report as we go forward and things like that. So she's going to kind of be the scorekeeper, so to speak, on these initiatives. And I think you're going to see throughout this, there's a lot of things that you're like, well, why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing it now? Well, a lot of things we are doing now, but we get it on here and now we're constantly talking about it. So it stays at the front of the mind, and we're doing that thing on a constant basis, instead of just something that we happen to think about every now and again. It's right there in front of us, so.
How do you notify the residents typically, like when you have a project coming up that is going to
We'll either
impact
go
them?
door to door in a specific area, because it's usually just a couple of
Sure.
residents, or we'll send out a form letter that says, "Dear resident, this is happening on your street,"
Perfect.
just to make them aware. And we also post our repair schedules if that is required, or is a way that we should communicate on a broad scale.
It just depends on, like if it's a street resurfacing project, it's a letter going to every homeowner. Here's when they're going to be here.
Yeah, we
Please
have a
don't park on the
generic letter
street
that
and
goes
things like
out.
that.
At least you got one last year.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, I think that's great. Thanks.
One of the other things we're working towards, Tim, you want to talk about the mobile 311 and what we're trying to work towards as far as alerting customers on our curbside collection stuff and things like that, just kind of keeping them, where's the leaf vac truck
Well, I'll
this
try
week?
to do that in a quick manner. We have a program that uses Esri and a pointing communication software that's on iPads and all their smartphones, where there's a list of things that, like if there's a dead raccoon or a messed up sign or a bag of leaves out on the curb, they just go by, it's on. Oh, well, it won't pull any closer to me. Somebody's got it too tight. Lean forward all the way up. I'm gonna look like Heather all the way up here. But they go every Monday while they're picking up bags, and they mark these on a system, and then it shows me on the computer in my office on a map what these points are, where they are, and what they mean. So I can make sure by the end of the week what needs to get picked up got picked up, and what work order is coming up next. Our utility department has also started using this software to mark their work requests, I guess you could call it. They'll log in a water leak and then schedule it to get fixed and assign it to a crew. It's a pretty nifty software that we're using and utilizing pretty well between a couple of departments. I'm trying to expand it as we get more knowledge of it and use it a little more to make more use of that dollar that we're spending on that software. If we jump into the next, which leads into the next little topic of leaf vacuum, we do post a schedule. It is my goal this fall to try and at least post every Monday or Tuesday what street that truck is on. So like if we get a little bit behind or we get ahead or on schedule, we'll post every Monday where that truck is, so they'll know where that truck is and where it's going. Wherever Lacey thinks we should post that. It would probably be, I don't know, whichever social media we do that kind of stuff on a regular basis.
Typically, that's on Facebook, yep.
But we'll work with our media director to make that happen.
I think we've even done some of those updates as a news flash to the website as well, so that it's
I'm
reaching out to
not
people.
sure it'll happen more than once a week right now, but if we can get it out more than once a week, just to make residents know where the leaf truck is. It doesn't have GPS on it. It's not a real-time thing. Somebody can go look at a map and see, oh, the leaf truck's right there now. It's coming. Or, no, it's on the other side of the city. That's just not a function that we can have right at the moment with the software that we have.
Cool.
We have added some GPS trackers on some of our trucks, but that is not one of them at the moment.
Any other questions for Tim on that one?
Tim, going back to the first one, the mobile 311 that you had mentioned, is there any opportunities to provide some sort of app like that or an interface like that?
For the public?
For the public.
It does.
Because they can be our biggest assets in identifying some of these things, like a clogged drain or a dead animal.
There is a citizen portal on that, but we have to make our map public. That's a thing we have to work out with our engineer and SRE if we wanted to do that.
So I would say probably, I mean, it's something we're working towards, maybe in another year. Or in another year, I mean, in like next fiscal year, we possibly are there at that
We're
point.
mostly using it for internal purposes. I'm not sure, we'd have to have a whole separate map just for public to post on, because that, I don't want them to clog up our internal
Yeah,
map.
oh, sure. But they might be able to go and see, oh, that issue's already being taken care of, or the
Right.
city's already aware of it, and it's scheduled to be taken care of.
Yeah, we have a citizen request on the website, which gets posted, and then it goes to the appropriate person, and then they can put the point on the map
Right.
if need be also, so we just don't.
It does have that platform that you're talking about. We're trying to get as good as we can with it right now before we start rolling it out and getting it out there. So, but yeah, we are working towards that. All right, moving down to Parks and Recreation. This is out in Q3. So basically, as we roll into our fall sports programming, to set expectations and better educate youth sports families, Parks and Recreation Department will hold biannual participant expectation trainings by Q3 2019. We'll go ahead and do the second one as well. To educate the youth sport families, Parks and Rec will create policies and procedure guidelines also. So those will be developed in time for our fall sports. Joey, you want to briefly touch on those?
So we basically decided to create the policies and procedures, kind of just like our beach and swim center, how we have our policies and procedures. Basically, what we want to do is be proactive and better educate our families up front to hopefully not overwhelm us with redundant emails that we answer every year. There's a lot of processes that we take through our department, through team organization, why we do the drafts the way that we do, why you can't pick your specific practice time, and just educating parents that sign up through our program of realistic expectations as to, no, you can't select only Monday at 5:30 for your practice because we have 1,800 participants and we only have so much field space, so many coaches. So basically the policies and procedures are going to be the basic foundation for these trainings. And then we're going to take that and further elaborate on some of those. So just kind of setting, like it says, the expectations for upcoming seasons and hopefully minimize some of those reoccurring questions we have every year from sports families.
Any questions for Joey there?
Just real quick, while you're doing that, I know this is our policies and procedures, but when you talk about your expectation guide, can you morph that into also policy and procedures for the participants?
Absolutely, and that will be part of it. We're hoping that through some of the education to the parents that attend, that they're sharing that with their children as well. One of the most frustrating things we get is to hear families talk about, wow, that team's stacked. I hate the term stacked. And the term stacked means that this team starts off with a huge advantage compared to the other teams. We severely limit the number of kids that are allowed on each team prior to the draft. We allow 3 per team on the draft in the baseball, softball side of things, and flag football, and then 4 in soccer because our roster sizes are a little larger in those sports. And we do that to limit the amount of talented players that can be on a certain team. And the other aspect of we competitively balance those teams as well. If a team winds up with 3 very talented kids, then they're top heavy, so we make sure that the rest of the roster is balanced out throughout. So it's letting the parents understand those types of procedures and policies that we do follow through, where the average youth sports parent would just say, that team's awesome, and they did nothing to prevent that from happening. So that it's just, and hopefully kids have better expectations too. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, that team's stacked, we have no chance. Well, yeah, we do. These are the things that we did to try to give you that opportunity. So.
And could we ensure everybody gets a ribbon or trophy? So if my kid goes
Absolutely not.
0-12, he doesn't feel like a loser, please?
I cut those out in 2001. At least from the city doing it.
No, thank you.
All right, let's jump down to PD. To better educate the community about specific topics of safety, Police Department will have quarterly safety education classes beginning Q1 2019. Actually had a pretty good turnout at your first one. Chief?
So every quarter, we're going to pick out topics that we feel is important to the community, and we'll watch what's going on. Some of it could be drug overdoses. To this last one, we had active shooter training, and we had over around 50 people that attended, so it was a really good attendance. But we're going to make sure that we kind of keep our kind of watch the pulse of the community and what's going on around, and what topics that we feel will be best to educate the community. So we're currently doing that, and Officer Timms and Sergeant Galloway are doing those, and they're doing an excellent job.
Third Monday of every month? So to get a crowd in here, aside from Walt?
We'll skip IT. Mark's not here. He had a medical emergency come up with his mother this morning that he had to attend to. And I'm not sure what some of that even means in this virtual whatever. Basically, it's going to protect our systems and protect our information on it and keep hackers from getting to it is what that drills down to be. Utilities, Philip, under Q3, to better partner with customers to increase accountability and accessibility, Utility Department created Adopt a Hydrant program. Pretty self-explanatory. I know, is it River Lakes that did that most recently through our TKK Connect program? Phil, why don't you talk about the color coding on the bonnets and things like that?
Well,
just briefly.
Color coding for the fire hydrants are for two purposes. One is an identifier, tells you who that hydrant basically belongs to. Right now, we have several different colors throughout the system. We're working on getting a base color, which is red. And then the caps and bonnets are color coded according to the National Fire Standard. That helps the fire department when they pull up to that certain hydrant of how much water they expect gallons per minute to get out of that hydrant to fight a fire.
So basically, we're looking for volunteers, neighborhoods, things like that, as we, officially roll that program out. To adopt the hydrants, we give them the supplies, the paint. We tell them which hydrant is rated which, because the fire department flow tests those on a, is it annual basis? Y'all flow test?
It's supposed to be annual. We didn't get last year's completed. But
Okay.
we will this year.
So we tell them what colors it needs to be, give them the map, give them the supplies, they go out and paint it for us. That way we're not sending our kind of takes the burden off the staff having to go around and keep up with that. And usually it lasts a few years, right, once it's painted, so.
Plus, it helps the customers tell us if there's unauthorized usage. When I first came here, it kind of did things, I guess, kind of like the city of Charlotte, other areas where they issue contractors a permit and they can go to any hydrant. Well, we lose revenue that way because we don't know how much water they're pulling, and it's only a trust issue. The way we've set up our program is if a contractor comes in, needs to utilize a hydrant for water, we'll go out, we'll set a meter, tell them which hydrant they can pull from, and that way we're able to track that usage a lot better.
Let's take a break. Looks like everybody's getting a little restless here.
Okay,
10-minute break or so.
sure, that'll be fine.
Chief, figure out all the donuts. I'm done with my donuts. Did
You may continue. Wow. I can't believe you just called me the button.
Button girl.
Well, you were the trash queen, and you didn't like that.
I don't like that either. We need to come up with better nicknames as our horrendous.
That'll be the next workshop. We'll work on nicknames
God.
for everyone. All right, we're into the small town feel on 2019. Under volunteerism, looking at Q3, this is with Parks and Rec to increase quality and number of volunteer coaches and officials for our recreation programs. Parks and Rec Department will increase marketing and training by Q3 2019. That one's pretty self-explanatory. The reason it's yellow, we've got a good outline and plan. It's just hammering out the final details and whatnot on, correct, Joey?
Correct.
All right, any questions there? Under events and programs, a lot of this is gonna end up being between PD and Parks and Rec, I believe. Chief Parker, this is yours, to promote positive interactions between the community and law enforcement. PD will continue the Do the Right Thing program, passing out the ice cream cards. Shirley, I'm sure y'all have all seen that on Twitter and whatnot through police department. Good program, positive interactions between our officers and our young folks. So I'm glad to see that program going. And actually, Chief, that was the program that you pitched during your interview, I believe.
It was.
And it's been very successful.
Love it.
Over the 4 years, so really like that one. The next one under there is the Take Two videos. You've done a full year of those and starting year 2, correct, Chief?
Correct.
So again, that's Q1, pretty self-explanatory, things that we're doing and we'll continue to do moving forward. Under Q2, again, this is with PD, and it's our Camp Cadet program, and doing that annually during the summer. Chief, how many kids are we up to at this point that we're running through that camp?
42.
Okay.
And
That's good.
we're gonna have to reject a lot of kids this year. We're already getting a lot of requests, and we just don't have the ability to run a 2-week camp. We
Right.
don't have staffing wise.
Yeah. So definitely heard nothing but positives from the participants and the surrounding community, how great that camp is. So hopefully as we move forward in future years, we'll get to a point where we can add to that as we continue to progress.
Maybe first timers with a priority versus repeat cadets?
Correct. Yep, we're gonna definitely be able to address that this year. In the past, the program wasn't to a point where we had to reject people, where this year we know that that's gonna happen. So if first timers are definitely gonna have the priority.
Good. Next one, this is the SEDNR boater safety classes. Chief, you've already got those scheduled, correct?
Correct.
Where are we doing them?
Doing here at the Glennon Center.
Okay. So we'll be pushing that out as we get closer to the boating season. Do you recall off the top of your head when we've got the next one coming up, the date on that?
It's towards the end of April, right
Okay.
before boating season kicks off, and then I think we have one in May as well.
Okay.
Late May.
Good stuff. So we'll be advertising that and pushing that. Been well attended in the past, I believe. When
Correct.
we've done those. This next one is fire, the story time with the kids. And Justin, you were making changes to that one, I saw.
We're gonna change it to quarterly instead of monthly. We had a decreasing attendance every time, and I think it was just becoming too frequent. So hopefully going back to a quarterly program will increase our attendance.
Good stuff. Good deal. And first one's coming up
Next Saturday.
next Saturday from, y'all slid it back. You're starting, what, 10, I think? 10:30? 10:30 to noon?
Yeah, 10:30 to 12,
There you go.
Station 1.
So, yeah. Let the kids wake up.
Yeah.
Let the parents wake up. There we go. So, been a very well-received program, and firefighter Diaz is handling and overseeing that one, correct?
Yeah, he's still handling the whole thing. I assist him if he needs it, but right now he's just running with it. So
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah.
he's great for it.
Yeah. And then the last one under Q2, minimum of the 4 concerts per year. Again, we'll start this year, because of the hurricane, last year, we were able to salvage and push forward. And so we'll have an April show this year, giving us 5. And if the funding allows for it, we may do 5 going forward with an April, May, June. Obviously taking July off due to the July 4th and lots of vacations and travel and whatnot, and then doing August, September, closing everything out in October with the Fall Festival. But on the concerts, we'll keep those moving, very well attended. We're up to now, what, 2,000 people, give or take, per?
Yeah, if the weather works out, and we have good bands, that we typically have a good showing, and really excited about all the entertainment we have booked this year.
Yeah, we've got some good ones.
We've switched up some variety. We've added some country this year,
Attaboy.
which we haven't done in a while. So hopefully it's well received.
Good stuff.
Have been awesome.
Yeah.
I know our families, we love them. And
We-
you guys do a really great job in
Thank you.
organizing those. So.
We had over 30 food trucks apply to be a part of it. I remember when I
You used
first
to have
took
to beg
over,
people.
we had to
Yeah.
beg like Village Pizza and a couple other small places. So it's pretty cool. I think everything's just gonna build together. So
How has the VIP server thing worked out?
things worked out well. I think people that sign up for it enjoy it.
It's $100 for the entire season. You get what, 4 or
Yes.
6 seats?
We're sold out if that's any indication. Yeah, sorry.
You are a VIP.
Yeah. We get automatic VIP.
Yeah.
So we
Any chance that some of my favorite hip-hop bands might show up?
Yes, sir. We can work some in.
90s hip hop, preferably.
Yeah, Ja Rule's throwing some party in the Bahamas.
festival.
Yeah, I heard you got a ticket.
Some cheese sandwiches.
There you go.
Yep.
Oh, that's good.
Things just went really south
Yeah,
really fast.
yeah. Moving on to quarter 3, we'll keep up with our National Night Out. Chief, National Night Out as an organization provides 2 dates, correct? And we go with the second one?
Correct. They do one the first Tuesday of every August, and then they have a choice of the first Tuesday of every October. Common sense is I don't think anybody wants to be out in the 99-degree temperature doing it in August, so we chose October so we have good attendance. And last year, we went back and we made sure that we split it where we were doing it at Tega Elementary and doing it at Lake Ridge, so we were making sure that we were serving the entire community. And so we'll definitely do that again this year because it was well received.
Yeah, good stuff. That's always a great event. I know our fire department helps out with cooking the hot dogs and things like that, and it's always good to see people interacting with our officers and our firefighters and whatnot. That's good.
We couldn't do it without the fire department, for sure.
So with this next one, to expand our community event offerings and better utilize the resources we have, Parks and Rec Department will begin investigating new events like movies on the lake at Windjammer Park or even various river floating type events in conjunction with Rock Hill PRT. That one's in red because literally it is just an idea at this point. As we move through the spring and everything, I'll assist Joey and his folks in just kind of vetting through that and trying to come up with the details and whatnot. We're envisioning getting everybody out on the lake and watching Jaws from Windjammer or something like that. But, different things like that that we've seen have been successful in other communities, and just looking at how can we draw people to and utilize those resources that are unique to us, i.e. the lake and the river. So, again, that one's red purely. I mean, obviously, there'd be a little bit of funding involved, depending on what we come up with, but those could possibly be covered by event sponsors, whatnot, where we would hopefully have minimal expense. But again, it's just an idea at this point.
Well,
that
Lake
we'll be
Valley
working
Marina
through.
did it last year a couple times.
Okay.
Movie night.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of boats, a lot of kids
That's awesome.
anchored up.
How big does the screen have to be for that?
big.
Yeah, I mean,
Projector.
yeah. Generally with those things, I mean, you're talking about a 25, 30 foot, like inflatable screen kind of thing.
We have various options depending on the size of the crowd.
Any questions on that one?
Sounds cool.
All right. obviously, we wanted to make sure we included all of our events. So you got July 4th Fall Festival, that are landing in that Q3 timeframe, thereabouts. So just listing those, should be no issues, questions there. And then the last one there in Q3 is to increase participation and education with the Spring Pick Me Up. Operations Department is going to partner with York County and our Communications Department of one, Ms. Lacey, to provide an ongoing training materials throughout the year. Hopefully that helps us with the Beautification Committee, getting them some more volunteers, things like that. It's pretty straightforward, but any questions there on number 4 in Q3? Good stuff. Stronger neighborhoods. As we really kind of vetted and kicked that one around, primarily Katie and I, really, TKK Connect kind of covers it. And you'll see as you go through the various years. Yeah, in year 1, we just showed the 4 big things under it right now, but it's pretty much just TKK Connect in general as we go forward. And I mean, you could almost even, because of the new format, which I know Mayor Pro Tem attended the first one under the new format. You see it falls under the access for leadership information, access to leadership and information as well. The Connect program, it started to falter a little bit, but it seems to be re-energized under the new format. So glad to hear that and see that and continuing forward. So any questions under strong neighborhoods? Great. Access to leadership, again, you've got TC Connect. Chats with Charlie was actually a little bit, I had an early meeting or an earlier on meeting with Alicia, and she had talked about giving people access to City Hall, and and sometimes it's hard to make it to City Hall. How can we mobilize that? One, we're going to try to mobilize it at the Fall Festival and having a City Hall booth this coming year. But Mount Pleasant, my counterpart down there was telling me about something that he does. Now, he actually does it on their city bus. Yeah, he'll hop on the bus at City Hall and just ride it around for an hour and a half, just talk to the people on the bus. We decided, well, let's use his idea, morph it into our own, doing the spotlight in the area restaurants that are in TGK, and we've had decent attendance, anywhere from 1 person to probably 10 people show up. So we'll continue on with that process. Actually, Alicia was the first one of this year. Had a decent little turnout at TGK Deli. So we're at Danny's Pizza next month, and we'll keep marching on. Folks seem to like that. No, I do not. Okay. Not at all. Nope.
Golf cart.
It'd have to be a short one.
Golf
yes.
cart.
Absolutely, yes. The Rewind, obviously, on that information stuff, we always get tons of great positive feedback there. And then this next one falls under Chief, to better educate the public and increase awareness of what's happening. Police Department will provide annual crime statistics and mapping data by Q1 of each year. And as we start doing dispatch in-house, which would probably start up, Chief, what do we think, January, February timeframe of 2020?
Yeah, I'm hoping that it'll be Q1 of 2020. I don't see a problem why it wouldn't. It's just gonna we have training for the dispatch, and we want to make sure that we have all of everything operational and ready before we go live. So that's our date.
But with the new software that the county has switched over to, that we'll have to switch over to, that's going to give us the ability to probably even do that crime mapping a little more frequently throughout the year, and provide that almost that real time, so to speak, data, and keep it on our website so people can see what are the biggest crime trends. Yeah. A lot of times I think I know what it is, and then I talk to Chief and I'm like, oh, the thing I thought was number 1 is actually number 5. Yeah, and something I didn't even have on the list is number 1. So keeping that out there, I tell you, the education is the best to keeping folks aware. And hopefully not being a victim. Whether it's, we've seen drugs, a lot of drugs in the area, a lot of heroin, opioids, things like that. no different than anybody else. A lot of stolen cars, car chases. DUIs are still up there. They've taken a significant uptick, if I recall correctly. So, but again, doing this crime stats and mapping data, will continue to push that forward, and gets a lot easier to do it more frequently as we bring dispatch in-house with the opening of the new station.
And I think that's great, just personally. I think what we get the most as council is why the new fire station? Why is the size of the police force so big? Harassment and this and that, and when people don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having a statistic like this that says, hey, here's the wins that we got last month or last quarter, and that's why. This is why we're spending the money in the city, to improve our police force and facilities, because all of this is happening. So I think it'll be valuable information.
Just an example of that is 2 weeks ago, we had somebody coming in to rob Walmart. We stopped him on a traffic stop, ended up getting in a car chase. He was wanted in 4 counties for robbery. But just an example of things that people don't know about that we're dealing with every day, that we'll be able to make sure that we're putting monthly statistics out so everybody's aware of what's going on.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
And then you can see those just kind of move forward, from year to year, and that access to leadership information. Any other questions on that row, so to speak?
For providing that data, so this says each year, but are we?
He'll do an annual report, but then we'll do the monthly updates.
So you are-
Once we've got our own dispatchers, we'll be able to do it on a monthly basis. But you just, we got copies to you guys. Yeah. So he'll continue with the annual report, summing everything up, but doing the monthly stats on our website once we have dispatch. Yep. Promoting branding the city. This was a simple one, but I mean, it really helps, with our park maintenance people, making sure they're in identifiable uniforms while they're out there working around the parks. Somebody has an issue, question, that kind of thing. They can see that is a staff member. I know Public Works and Tega have had those implemented that uniform process, years and years ago, but making sure that our park maintenance staff, since they're out there amongst the folks, again, it's putting our logo out there, it's putting our people out there, and letting folks know who we are and what we're doing. And that's already been implemented. Again, it seems minor, but it actually helps out a lot. Moving over to Q3, to help identify businesses. Again, this is something that we actually already done, but we're going to update it on an annual basis, is the online business map that we created. This was an idea that came from the Economic Development Commission. And Lacey will be working with Catawba Cog. They were able to throw that map together. Somewhat interactive, but you can see where all the businesses are in TGK. The brick and mortar businesses. We didn't highlight the
Massage parlor.
I was trying to think of the right word to use there. But if it's a brick and mortar business, we wanted to make sure we highlighted that with contact information, access to their website, that kind of thing. Again, this is part of our initiative to really promote the businesses we have, which will hopefully then in turn help attract newer businesses in as they hear how well the businesses that we have are interacting with us. So we'll update that at a minimum on an annual basis. I mean, we don't have a huge commercial district, but obviously we got a new tenant that just moved in and one that just moved out. So as we move forward, we'll flip that around. So I was looking at you. Good. There we go. The next one, to enhance communication for Parks and Recreation programs and community events. Parks and Rec will create their own online calendar, and this is on our website, just to kind of help, get the word out so people can keep up with how things are going. It doesn't get lost in the shuffle of all the other things that we have on the city calendar or on the other various calendars. So
When we have a new business move in, can we welcome them, like have Lacey do her social media thing, welcome a new business to the city?
Sure.
Is that
Sure, we absolutely can.
just thought?
Got it.
Welcome committee.
The welcome wagon.
Welcome wagon.
We'll have to get Lacey a wagon for the welcome wagon. Boom, boom.
You can now drive a golf cart to the liquor store.
It's moving in where Omega Learning was. So a tutoring store moved out and a liquor store moved in. It's in front of Walmart, the new shop's over there. Yep, near where the new Comporium store, yep, right in there. The one from the Crossings, I guess, the shop show where Planet Fitness is. That one moved, or is moving.
And they close at 7, so you'll be home by dark.
You've covered all the angles. There we go. So that concludes 2019. It's 11 o'clock now. Do we want to go ahead and jump into 2020? Is there any overall of 2019 that needs to be covered?
How many pages? You got
3 pages of
more.
2020. As you can see, as we move away from 2019, you start to see more yellows, some more reds popping up, obviously, and then as we get closer to those, we'll start turning things green. So under Q1, under facilities and infrastructure for city investment, this one goes to development services to reduce review time for subdivision and site plans and enhance collaboration for developers and contractors, purchasing and installing a interactive smart board in the conference room upstairs. That'll assist with those technical review meetings and
will.
things like that, Tom?
Yeah. It'll be quicker when we have changes and revisions that we're asking for. It'll be quicker going back to the architect rather than doing everything in Word.
Right.
That's important, especially as we move into next year, probably this year, next year, we're just gonna have a lot coming on board.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Moving on across, down to Q3, to enhance and provide for recreational opportunities for the community, the Parks and Rec Department will increase its recreational amenities by 4 facilities. Hopefully, those are 4 new fields at Catawba Park. But again, facilities could be, any number of facilities, but Catawba Park was what was envisioned there. Q3 of 2020, having some ball fields, at least getting, break ground on phase 1 and getting some sports down there is what we're shooting for. Again, it's in yellow. So got to set the goal and we'll work towards that goal. Moving over to Q4, to enhance the stability and security for the entire city's network. Again, this is IT. This is really just putting everything in the cloud. Nobody understands the cloud. You can't get it out, can't get it in. It's just the cloud. But we'll move on. And Philip, this next one is yours and Tega. And this is just upgrades to our Gray Rock lift station, probably the biggest lift station we've got, Philip. And this is what pushes to Rock Hill. So you want to touch on any of that, Philip?
Basically,
briefly?
right now, we have 2 major pumps. The purpose of looking at that, we don't have a backup generator at that. We do have a backup motor. So when we lose power there, it only runs 1 motor or 1 pump. So we're looking at adding a additional pump and then a total backup generator where if we did lose power, we're able to run more pumps in the case of emergency. We looked at that as included with the impact fees as well, as the growth continues or what's already been
Correct.
approved, to impact that system as well, to make sure that we're covered in case of emergency.
Right. And this lift station, basically, all from Lake Shore, Cameron Creek, Lake Ridge, Stonecrest, all of that ends up at this lift station before it pumps down Catawba River, under it, and down to the
about
Rock Hill
2.5
plant.
miles,
Yeah, it's about 2.5 miles of force main that this thing is pushing. Windhaven, whatnot, obviously will go to the county and then to Rock Hill. So it won't impact this lift station, but as we continue to get closer to build out on those other areas, that is a very critical lift station for us.
So is that one separate from the other upgrades that you talked about earlier, the 4 point?
Yeah, the other ones were at the actual treatment plants on Tega 2.
Okay, so this would be in addition to.
Right, on this, the system, which is what we call T-Code 1. We send everything to Rock Hill for treatment.
Yep. And again, this was included in the impact fee study. So you'll have impact fees as those start to materialize on the utility side that can help offset that expense.
And approximately how much
For
for this item?
we figured roughly about $500,000.
All right, Philip's not allowed to talk anymore?
There you go.
Every time he talks, we're spending more money.
He's got the expensive things.
I'm sorry, it's the nature of the beast, but we did include these upgrades with the impact fees, so
Yeah.
it should be covered.
Just right.
Under city services, Q1, to support employee growth and improve services, human resources, seek opportunities for talent development, workforce readiness by contracting with a consulting company to develop a supervisory development training program for career advancement opportunities in Q2 2020. Dora and I are working on succession planning through all of our departments at this point. We've got a lot of young staff, but we've also got a lot of senior staff that over the next 5-7 years start phasing out, and being ready, trying to grow our own leaders. Now I have 2 young daughters. I'm gonna have to work till I'm 80, so no
Yeah,
worries there. No.
Yeah, this program actually is to help our current employees to be prepared to move into those positions that might be coming available.
I mean, it doesn't put them in a, well, you're next in line type situation,
Right.
but at least gives them the tools that they can take advantage of to prepare themselves to try to be that next person.
Yeah.
So,
To advance up the career ladder. Ye-
correct.
Yes.
It gives them access to that leadership supervisory information and training. One, helps them become a better employee for us now, but 2, helps them prepare themselves to perhaps climb that career ladder when the opportunity does present itself. Yes, sir.
Build a bed.
Yes.
Always have to build a bed.
Absolutely. The next one, number 2, to increase efficiencies and allow for additional space at City Hall. We're actually going to be moving our clerk of court, Donna Dorado. Right now, she's upstairs at City Hall. As we open up the new police station, we've got a spot for her there where she'll actually just relocate her office over there. It really will help a lot because until we turned it into a construction war zone, a lot of people would go over to PD first. Hey, I want to pay my ticket, ahead of court time. No, sorry, you got to go over to City Hall, that kind of thing. So having her there, she can also help provide backup to at least the customer service window during lunch hours and breaks and things like that. So, just improving that efficiency. And it frees up a spot over at City Hall. Not that we have anybody to put into that spot now, but at least, thinking long-term, it's easier to do that than it is to try to add an office somewhere at City Hall. So it's probably just general storage for now. But that'll probably occur September timeframe is what we're looking. Of next year, maybe even in January. We need to get the police department moved in first and get them up and operational. So, number 3, to improve employee response time for projected workload expectations. Utility department purchasing an additional maintenance vehicle in Q1 2020. There's Philip again.
How much is this one gonna cost?
So everybody, all the other department heads are glad Philip came. But in all honesty, this actually brings a, this may be one of the first ones. But what we've tried to do is look at the CIP that we have now and make sure that we've put those things in here. So this is an item that is on the CIP, and then just showing it again here. So as you move to Q2, you got permitting and inspection services, enhanced communication with contractors, developers, conducting meeting twice a year to review new or existing code requirements. Tom, this is you. We're under which?
We're under 2015 code now, and we'll be going statewide to the 2018 code, January 1st is the schedule. And what we'll do is we'll highlight some important changes and bring the contractors in to make sure they know about it. And if we see some repetitive type problems in our inspections, we'll bring those up also.
So again, just reaching out to those that we interact with, building those relationships, as well as trying to educate to cut off problems before they can become problems. This next one is with Ms. Dora. Again, employee growth and to improve services, human resources, seek opportunities for talent development, workforce readiness by creating a citywide internship program with area technical schools and the Fort Mill School District. And we're actually attending we're going to be down at the job fair, career fair with York Tech in April.
March 28th.
It's March. Okay, good deal. So I know Philip and Dora are going to that, and I believe Katie is going as well.
And we also get members from the police department and the utility departments.
Good deal.
May I just mention one thing, though? Through the internship with Winthrop University, we have hired 2 great employees.
In Parks and Rec, they did their internships. They were in the sports management field, I think.
Correct.
And that's where we got Dustin and, well, actually, we've hired
And
3.
Walker.
So you got,
Well,
he did the
Andrew was an
internship.
intern,
That's
but
true.
yeah, we're loaded
Yeah.
with Winthrop grads. in
Yeah,
our
so,
department.
yeah, but Walker Johnson and Dustin Overton, 2 of our our recreation director and our one of our programmers, both intern, huh?
No relation. Sometimes Overton and Overman.
Oh,
Oh, yes, Overton,
My
Overton, I'm
husband,
sorry.
D Overman gets emails for D Overton sometimes.
Ah,
how bad are they?
oh, good stuff. But yeah, so working with the tech schools, things like that, and providing those internships, hopefully are going to provide us with good quality employees as we go forward and be able to fill some of these open spots that we've got.
Are these paid internships? This is a paid.
It varies. It really, I mean, it depends. If it's a few number of hours that's a requirement, usually it's unpaid. But if they're having to do 400, 800 hours, something like that, then there is a small stipend that we will pay for that.
To interject with that from a Parks and Recreation side, to get creative with it, their actual work in the office, they do not get paid for, but we look for opportunities through officiating in our sports leagues to be able to get them some pay, and they can kind of double dip with getting hours and getting paid because it's not a budgeted item. So that's kind of our way to get the help in the office, but also reward them a little bit with some pay by officiating.
Over in Q4, this is in Joey. Believe it or not, there is a safety certification process for playgrounds. I actually went through it myself years ago. And really, it's just as our maintenance staff, and we've been able to add one person this year there. They're the ones that are out looking at those playgrounds on a daily basis, just making sure they know what to look for and how to properly inspect them to make sure that they're safe and reduce liability on the city. So pretty self-explanatory there. This next one between Tim, I think is all Tim, to enhance the proper maintenance of the city streets for our motorists and to keep storm water system clean. Ops will purchase a street sweeper, Q4 2020. This was, again, another item that was in the CIP, and it is exactly what it sounds like. When we stop running the leaf vac truck, you start to see all the things that are collecting in the curb and the gutter and things like that. And they end up sitting in the storm drains and causing us issues with the infrastructure and everything. So getting a street sweeper to go through, even if it's only running once a week. 1, you're beautifying the city. 2, you're helping protect the infrastructure. So again, this was another item. The reason it's red, funding has not been approved. And we'll see what the funding sources look like as we get, as you're talking at that point, the 2021 fiscal year, so.
Is that something you use impact fees for?
No, sir.
Tried.
No, sir. Tim tried. It's just not expensive enough to put in the impact fees, so, yes.
How is the legal status on the impact fees going right now, you guys?
The county we're not gonna talk about that right now. I'll tell you later.
Are there any types
After
of
this.
like beautification grants in the state that we could
There are, but not that would buy a street sweeper.
or offset costs?
Yeah, right. Yep. So, this would not be a general fund expense, it would be a stormwater expense, is where that would fall, as far as which fund it would be in. Moving down to, promoting branding the city. The utility department, is going to roll out, non-disposable clear sports bottles, drinking bottles for people to use, logoed up and things like that, instead of having these bad boys to toss in the trash can, be working, huh? Not till March 11th. Yeah. So I thought this was a pretty neat idea that Philip came up with, getting those sports bottles out, having them logoed up, as part of our utility department and getting those, I can foresee a interaction with Parks and Rec, getting it in the kids' hands and things like that. So, pretty neat and looking forward to that. Again, that one's yellow. Just got to hammer out some of those details and, obviously the funding. This is outside of the current fiscal year, so we're coloring that one yellow. Moving on across, this was this a Lacey? Yeah, good idea Lacey came up with. Again, it's keeping us out there. A lot of times we're sharing silly memes and things like that on Facebook. Every time we do, we end up getting another 30, 40 followers. So that way when we've got something really important we've got to push out, it's that many more people that are going to see it. I thought this was a pretty neat idea. And those with young kids probably remember that, like the rocks, TKK rocks thing, social media. It's kind of like along those lines, but doing a scavenger hunt with Instagram and around our parks. One, gives us the opportunity to highlight, showcase our parks. Two, it's got people interacting with us. So, pretty neat idea. That one's green because, we can roll with it. You're not talking any expenses there. Pretty simple program. Anything?
So I think this one sounds awesome, and I don't know if it's pushed out to 2020 just due to staff capacity and time, or, okay.
Basically, it's just having enough bandwidth from a staff standpoint to just put it together. It might be something by the end of the summer, but just as we were looking at the calendar and everything going on between now and then, it's just, we just kicked it to next spring.
I think it's a great idea.
Under customers here, you've got, this one goes to Chief, to enhance public safety, provide 24/7 dispatch services to, sorry about that. Public safety, basically this is, as we were talking earlier, adding the dispatchers. The software's probably done in January, I think. So we're probably looking at a February start time, with bringing those on, February of 2020, with the dispatcher starting with us.
We're starting to build out with the software this month, working with York County and building out the software exactly what needs to be.
Right.
But the biggest process in that is merging all of our records, because we have standards that we have to make sure we keep those records. Merging those into the new software program is where that's going to be kind of the up in the air that I don't have much control over.
Now, in 5 years, York County decides to change software again, we're good. Once we're doing our own dispatch, we don't have to change software again, right?
That's all right. That's right. We now control how we want to operate our business.
Good deal. Number 2 there, again, that we'll stay with Chief Parker. To better serve the citizens and enhance response to incidents, we're doing the new reporting software. Again, that's what we were just talking about. Correct, Chief? That's the Zerker software. It's pretty widely used in law enforcement and dispatching, correct?
Yes, sir. The current software that we have is platform is about 25 years old. This newer platform is going to give us the ability to work much more efficiently and make sure that we have things to serve the citizens much better.
Good stuff. Moving on across to quarter 2. to provide technical assistance to elderly residents. Oh, this was something we actually came up with. It's kind of piggybacking off of, and Tom, I think you may have actually written it down when we were at the, but it's something, it's a program Rock Hill actually has been doing for a while, the Rolling in Rock Hill program. Basically, we as staff, we take applicants or nominations. We got to develop the criteria, but if you've got an elderly shut in, something like that, the house is falling in disrepair, that kind of thing. We get volunteers, both city staff as well as volunteers from residents. And we go out on a Saturday, and whether it's painting the outside of the house, fixing the front porch or something like that, just basically sprucing up that house. Now, we're not talking about doing this for the people that are just neglecting their house, and they're absolutely capable of cutting the grass and mending the house. There's people that are in need, whether it's because of a job displacement or if it's an age thing or things like that. That's why that one's in red. We got to work through that criteria, is how you would actually qualify. Starting it off here in Tega, but then it could end up becoming a Tega Fort Mill County type thing, within the township. Maybe even getting a little outside our borders. And again, it's just trying to promote that volunteerism, but also just showing, giving back type thing. So, I know Chief Parker and Tim, y'all have done the Rolling in Rock Hill for several years. I did it years ago when I worked for the city of Rock Hill. It's an awesome program. I mean, it really, really is. So, trying to do something like that up here, and that's really what that one's about.
You might also want to reach out to like Habitat for Humanity.
Mhm.
Yeah, they do. They might already have a program that we could maybe partner with them
Okay.
and have them facilitate it. We just participate heavily with fund part.
Right.
All the DUIs we give, lots need community service.
There you go. Under Q3, to aid staff in professional and technical development, city will utilize various online technical school classes by Q3 2020. And I know several of our departments have already done that in the past, and this is really just more formalizing that and trying to make it a little bit more widely available. Philip, I know you've had a couple of yours be able to do some online things and really be able to advance themselves. So excited about getting that rolling as well and putting that program together. Under customer relationships, really just you're looking at Q2 and then Q4. So under development services, Tom, you've got two of them there. To receive input and improve services to our contractors, business owners, and residents, establishing and distributing annual customer service surveys. Again, this falls in line with some of the other survey, the survey stuff we were talking about earlier. And this is just getting more specific to how we doing? How can we improve? How can we help you out as a contractor or business owner in development services? And then on number 2, and Tom touched on this a little bit earlier with the cross-training, and really just continuing to hammer through that and make that a big focal point to where it doesn't matter which one of his employees it is, they can do the commercial inspection, the code, or just go do the code enforcement, whatever the need is. That helps us keep headcount manageable and keeps us efficient. So by doing those cross trainings. Any questions there for Tom? Pretty self-explanatory. Tom, anything to add?
No, sir.
Okay. Under operations, to increase the aesthetic quality of our city, operations department will increase the amount of landscaping on city-owned land and at city-owned facilities, whether it be City Hall or the Glennon Center or the fire department, the new police department, what have you. I mean, spring and fall, that's what people love in Tega, all the color that happens throughout the city. So really just, the only reason that was yellow is because it is a budgetary thing and it's next, you're talking a little ways out there, but, looking forward to it stopping raining and flowers getting planted this spring at some point. Under fire department, in Q2, starting a car seat inspection program at the fire department. Justin, there's a certification thing that the guys have got to go through and complete first, right? Or
Yes,
no?
it's about $100 a person,
Right.
3-day class. But right now, there's really no one around here that offers this. Britax on Pleasant Road can help. The coroner's office helps if
Right.
you go to their office in Rock Hill. We get a lot of people that stop by the station every week wanting us to check their car seats, and we can't, so.
Yeah. So looking forward to getting that one going. It's a great idea. Under PD, to enhance the follow-up process and provide better customer service to the citizens, Police Department will use, with the use of dispatch, will implement an incident follow-up program to where we're reaching out to them, following back up. Hey, did we get you taken care of, kind of thing? Chief, you want to expand on that briefly?
Yeah, one of the things we always struggle with is customer service as far as law enforcement. You get a ticket from a law enforcement officer, you're not happy. But one of the things is sometimes we get busy in our day-to-day process and we have a victim that might have been a victim of theft or something that might have been minor, and we have trouble following up, where we're going to be able to use, we'll have an assignment for a customer service for dispatch where they're calling victims and asking if there was anything else as far as suspect information, how their incident was handled, if they had any recommendations. So we're just trying to make sure that we're doing a good job as a law enforcement agency.
And then the last one under Q2 goes back to Ms. Dora. To improve customer relationships, Human Resources will establish a customer service training program for internal customers, our city departments and staff, including how to create positive first impressions, manage customer expectations, and establish cooperative outcomes by Q2 2020. I think that's another great one that Dora came up with, and looking forward to getting that implemented next calendar year as well. A lot of times it's once you've been able to manage that expectation, a lot of times that helps de-escalate. We've experienced that a lot with the whole recycle thing. Once people actually understood what the root cause was, really kind of calmed them down and got their expectations where it needed to be. So looking forward to Dora putting that program together. Moving on to Q4. To serve our citizens with mental and physical disabilities, Police Department will implement a program to help citizens return home safely, a Take Me Home program, by Q4 2020. Chief, real quick on that one, please.
So this will be something where if somebody has some mental deficiencies or some physical deficiencies, Alzheimer's, something to that effect, a parent or somebody from the house can register them with our dispatch. And so we often have, sometimes there might be an Alzheimer's patient that is wandering the streets. This will give us the ability to call that in and know exactly who we need to contact and where they live. So it's basically, it'll be a program that they have to want to be involved with, but it gives us the ability to make sure that we're helping people with that program.
I'm gonna go ahead and self-register.
Leaving the clubhouse at midnight does not qualify.
The last one here, to enhance public trust, Human Resources Department will publish an annual report demonstrating compliance with all regulatory workforce requirements by Q4 2020. We are in compliance, but just working towards an actual public notification on that, just to demonstrate that. A lot of times that can also be a useful tool to help recruit new staff as we're looking for them. All right, small town feel on 2020. Moving left to right across the top in Q2 on volunteerism, to increase volunteer opportunities for local high school or college students. Parks and Recreation Department established programs with local educational institutions. Joey, you want to expand on that just a quick minute there?
So obviously, we've had success with our internships. What all of our Winthrop grads have in common, we've noticed when we went through the programs, there wasn't a lot that directed us towards the Parks and Recreation aspect of sports management. So reaching out to those students, providing them opportunities, because, my parents would probably kill over, but I'm not applying my degree too much with my profession. So giving those educational opportunities for those folks that do want to get into the parks and recreation aspect of sports management, and you know, continuing our I guess our relationship with Winthrop, and even expanding that into the high school realm as well for students that are kind of interested in that field as well. They can also help us out from an officiating standpoint as well, because that's where a good chunk of our official base is now coming from.
Good stuff.
Seems like the Boy Scouts want to volunteer more lately. They've been contacting me.
If it ever stops raining, we have opportunities for them as well.
Yes. Long list. Under Q3, to promote and recruit volunteers for city beautification, Operations Department will initiate a quarterly training for landscape maintenance by Q3 2020. And as Tim and I kind of talked through this, one, it's stuff they could do. I mean, if you think about the police department's quarterly education things, so basically it's Tim, but instead of public safety, it's, you know, proper planting and pruning techniques and things like that people could apply towards their house. We started to think that a lot of people aren't showing up to help with beautification with the beautification committee, because they just don't know how to do it, so they're staying away from it. So hopefully that helps. If nothing else, it's helping folks around their homes to properly take care of their things, their little niche in the world. So. Number two, to promote opportunities for stronger customer relationships, Utility Department is going to establish a booth at the Fall Festival on an annual basis beginning Q3 2020. So not this Fall Festival, but the next. We'll have a City Hall booth this year and going forward, and then utilities will start in 2020 doing a booth there. So
Put a tip jar out.
there you
That's how much it costs, please.
Hundreds only. Absolutely. You can see here stronger neighborhoods, again, just carrying TC Connect forward. Under access to leadership information, this is under development services. They're going to provide or conduct 2 annual meetings with homeowners that are interested in attending. Just regarding the permitting and inspection process, code enforcement reporting, and how citizens can assist in improving department services. Again, this kind of falls in line with the, you know, kind of a little bit of what they were doing with, on their portion of the Citizens Academy. Don't know if the Citizens Academy is going to continue forward. It's just a lack of interest. It may be something we just pause for a year or two and then roll it back out again, but we're struggling getting folks to sign up for it. So Tom's just looking for an opportunity to share that information and get that feedback from the community. Tom, anything else to add there?
That's all.
I
Fantastic.
think maybe election years,
We do it?
where because, you know, your citizens are a little more involved during those specific years
True.
where there's elections, so there'd be a little more interest during
Right.
every other year during that time
Absolutely.
frame or
That's a
something
good
like that.
idea. Good idea. And then the last one here, promoting branding the city. To promote the city parks and amenities, Parks and Recreation will engage with a marketing agency to provide wayfinding signage, you know, throughout the city by Q1 2020. Again, that's a budgetary thing. You know, one of the things that we're starting this year is making sure that all of our parks have a park sign, park name, you know, that type thing. But then as you're coming through the various corridors, whether it be Stonecrest Boulevard, or Hubert Graham Way, TK Drive, things like that, just helping folks find, you know, where those parks are, you know, to be able to get to those facilities. So, you know, it's either a simple sign or we're working with a marketing firm to, you know, what's a more creative way in which we can do that. Rock Hill's got some wayfinding signage that they do, gotten very creative with. And this is something that absolutely could be covered under H-Tax, you know, once we've flushed that out a little more. Council, that gets us through the first 2 years, 2019 and 2020. It's a lot. I know it's a lot for a Saturday morning as well. Questions, comments? We're getting close. I mean, we're at the 11:30 hour. As you can see, if you flip one more page and get to city investment of 2021, that's where you start seeing a lot more reds.
I don't have anything to do to 6 if you guys want to keep on going. Well, thanks, that's very, really good information. I see, I did notice a lot of red going up through 2024 and beyond.
Right.
So that's probably going to change many, many, many times over the next months or years.
Yes. Yeah, and our goal is I mean, hopefully we can continue with, whether it's, this council, while y'all are still in office, 10 years from now, whoever may be on council then, to where we're doing a, at least in every other year strategic planning, type workshop, but we're doing this on an annual basis, to where it leads, and doing it early in the calendar year helps give staff guidance, as they start to work through, budgets for the following fiscal year and things like that. Yeah, as we move forward, you start seeing reds turn to yellows or greens. Some things, that are that far out may end up coming off by the time it gets to turn it to, because it's just not a priority any longer, or it's been handled a different way. So, this is something that we want to make sure that we get right, so that we can tie it to the comprehensive plan, it's tied to the CIP, all those three documents are kind of working together. It keeps everybody on the same page, both staff, council, the community, all working together. Everybody knows what's going on.
I just want to say thank you to each of you who put a lot of time and effort into this. I know it's hard to plan years and years ahead, but I can see the effort that was put into it, and so I'm glad that we now have some actionable, measurable items that we can come back to and kind of assess as we move along. I think it's going to be important kind of as we progress through the next few years. So thanks for taking the time to do it. It's really appreciated. And happy birthday, Bob. We can sing happy birthday if you want.
Happy birthday.
70 years around the sun.
Well, thanks, everybody. Keep doing all the things you do. Keep trying to save money so we can fill it.
Hey, Philip, I just,
Are we gonna talk about?
Philip, I just haven't seen you, Chief got a free pass on his 4 million plus police station, and all you want to do is fix a few sewer pipes. But you can throw some shade back his way.
Hey, I just want to point out it's $50 for the fall festival table, so you can budget that correctly. We're good, thanks.
Is there anything else before I ask for a motion to adjourn? If nothing else, I'd like to make the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We allowed to have a vote in this? No. No, you guys spend the money. You don't get a vote. Thanks again. Thanks for.
Thank y'all. Thank